Hey up and welcome back to Matt's Mindful Meals. I'm down at Ruglass Bridge again, as you can see up the river Findhorn behind me. We've been here a few times on the videos because it's a beautiful spot. In fact, I came down here with Oscar Outdoors and English Woodsman when I introduced them to camping up here. Anyway, so tonight I'm going to be sleeping in a hammock because it doesn't look like there's going to be any rain, even though the clouds are a little bit black, but I'm going to risk it. But I'm going to cook my version of a cheats version of paella. It's all about trying to keep things simple. Anyway, I'm going to get myself off the bridge and go and get my hammock set up. So I'll see you when I finish that. Ta-ra! Stunning, isn't it? Anyway, we're going to be right on the bend, just around here. And look what I've brought with me. I've brought the meal machine. So today I'm going to be using my Onewind 12-foot ultralight hammock and the Onewind under blanket. Even though it's quite warm, I always prefer to have something underneath me. Right then, time to get the hammock set up. We're done. I'll give you a quick look round. So here you go, here's my Onewind 12-foot ultralight hammock. You can see I've got the under blanket on. The thing that's different from this hammock to quite a lot of other hammocks is the suspension system. As you can see, it's like a buckle and it's really easy and quick to set up. You basically strap it between the two trees, pull the buckles in and then set it to the tension you want. So it's a ridgeline hammock. So there's no poles going over to open it up. And inside there, I've got me Decathlon pillow. Now it's the Ultra pillow, 20 quid, and it's the comfiest pillow I've ever taken camping with me. And then I've got my Pariah camping quilt, which takes you down to about +5. So tonight that's going to be plenty. And then the tip I showed you before with the 2 zips. Now you can fully zip the mosquito net off this. However, what I always find in a hammock, sometimes you're struggling to find where your other zip is in the middle of the night. So I've got a big piece of paracord between the two. And as you can see, it just pulls it shut nicely and you'll never struggle to find one. So I tuck that in here. As I say, I tuck that in there, sorry. And it never vanishes. Anyway, that's my setup for tonight. And that's the river Findhorn down there. So I'll pop down there in a bin when I've helped Dave and Headley set the tents up. So here's Headley and Dave putting up the Cloud Up 2. As you know, Dave always wears bright orange and likes his bright tents. So obviously he's got this white one. And there's Headley, he's camping with us. I think it must be Dave's trainers because they're the same colour. Anyway, so they're just finishing that one off. But that's the ultralight version of it. And that looks quite cool. Apart from, for me, as you know, I like having darker colours. But it's that thin, you can see straight through it and look at his mat that he's going to be sleeping on. And that's definitely the Cloud Up 2 Ultralight. Anyway, Dave's testing that out tonight. So I'll chat to you soon. So tonight's setup, as you can see, on top of the meal machine, I've got my 5-inch firebox, but I've got the Trangia gas adapter in there because everything's so dry, it's just not worth the risk of using real fire. So the ingredients tonight, I've pre-made some boiled rice. Now it's basmati rice because that's my favourite, so it's not arborio rice or paella rice, but this is to make a cheats version of paella. So I don't think you can have a paella without having big king prawns. So there's a big tub of king prawns. The spices I'm going to use tonight is going to be some ground paprika for the smokiness and some ground cumin because I like that. I can't cook anything without putting a chili in it, so obviously there's going to be a chili. There's an onion and a big red pepper. And over at the back, you can see a big hot spicy chorizo and of course frozen peas. Anyway, almost time to get cooking, but that's what I'm going to be doing it with. Hey up, so got my new tripod so I can be able to try a few better angles. Cost a bit more than the other two that I bought, but they kept breaking. But anyway, so Oscar Outdoors recommended this one and it seems to be working perfectly. So need to crack on with a bit of the chopping because Dave and Headley are going to wait for have their steak when I've done my paella, because I'm going to give a bit of this to them as my starter. Now I've called it a cheeky paella because basically it's a knockoff version, whereas my friend Grant makes paella really well with saffron, rice, takes forever over a huge pan. But my cooking's all about the flavour and getting it done quickly. So as I said, I'm going to be using the firebox to do it on with gas. So first thing we want to do is get everything chopped up. So I'm going to start off with the chorizo. So with the chorizo, we want to get it peeled and get it chopped up quite small. Remember, always throw your rubbish away. And I always pinch that little end of the chorizo. Give it a bit of a chew, it's lovely. So get this chopped up into nice little chunks. This is where all the flavour is going to start from. Now the pan isn't on, but I've put the chorizo straight in the pan so I can chop the other stuff up. Because once everything's chopped up, we can crack on. So about 3/4 of this onion. Now remember, you're going to be eating this with a fork or a spoon, so try to chop everything up quite small. It also helps with how fast it cooks too. The onion's been chopped up quite finely so that once the chorizo's heated up and the oil starts to release out of that, I can fry the onions off in that oil, but also the pepper too. So if you cut this to about the same size as the onions, it'll all cook around about the same time. So that's the veg chopped, because I don't want now going to cut up the chicken. Now it's chicken thighs, because I always think the chicken thigh is far tastier than chicken breast. So I've got 2 chicken thighs in here. Now again, we want them cut up quite small so they cook evenly. So that's all the chopping, apart from my favourite Now all the chopping has been done. It's time to get it lit. See how this goes. I always jump a mile when I light this thing. See? So there we go. Let's get that on and the oil will start to come out of it. So I'll bring you back once that's heated up. I'll turn my gas down a little bit. You don't want it to burn, but you can start to see when I move it around the oil starting to come out of the chorizo. So I'll use that oil in a minute once more's come out to fry off the onions and the peppers. Now with chorizo, when you cook it like this, it gets a nice little crust on the outside, which creates so much flavour, it's gorgeous. You can start to see the colour coming through now. Right, I think we're about the time to start putting the onions and the peppers in. So what you want to see from this is you want to see the colour of the orange paprika that's inside the chorizo sausage colouring the actual onions themselves. This is the time when I start to add a little bit of extra paprika for the smokiness. It doesn't bring in too much heat, but it changes the colour nicely and adds a little bit of a smoky flavour to it all. You can always add a little bit more later. So if you're doing real paella, or I was doing real paella, what I would tend to do once I've got this chicken cooked through is then start to add the rice and add some broth so that the rice cooks with that. Well, as I say, this is the cheats version, so I'm using rice that's already done. So once I've got all of this cooked off, we can add that in and then add a few extra flavours. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the chicken and the chilli so we can get this cooked through. Really, it's a big cheat and it's really fast, but the flavour is brilliant, as we'll let Dave, me and Headley do a taste test a bit later. So let's get this stirred. I'm going to try another camera angle while this chicken gets cooked through. Hey, up again. So the chicken is almost cooked through. So now this is the point where I'll add vegetable stock cube. We crumble that on over the top. Now add a little bit of water. That's more than enough. Now I tend to add a little bit of cumin. And as I say, you want to add a little bit more later once you've had a taste, then that's perfectly fine too. don't go too mad, because if you put too much in at first, you can't take it out. So I tend to make a little well in the centre where the water will bubble. Then I add a little bit of harissa paste. Now this isn't a Spanish recipe, it's from North Africa, sorry. But I think the flavours of it are really Mediterranean flavours. Don't go too mad because it can be quite strong. Right, I think it adds it, for my taste anyway, it adds that little kick that just finishes it off nicely. So if you add it to the liquid, it'll then eventually spread around everything. And it's smelling fantastic. Time for the rice. Told you it was really quick, didn't I? So because I've cooked the rice earlier, it's nice and soft, but it's important to cool it down before you put it into a tub so it doesn't go into one big lump, so it stays quite free. So we'll get this in. Get it mixed through now. And hopefully the colour will all come through into the rice. So you can see everything's now mixed through. Last couple of ingredients now. If you can get fresh peas, but frozen ones work just as well in the dish like this. Now I like plenty of peas, as you can see there. So stir the peas through. And now for the star of the show. Big juicy king prawns. A little tiny bit more paprika on the top. Now, the secret is for this now, is everything there's quite hot, but the prawns are quite cool. So pop this on the top. Now I quite like the crunchy bits underneath, so I'll turn the heat right down. And I'll bring you back in a couple of minutes when it's ready. Here we go. Oh yes. So you get nice crunchy bits of the chorizo, big juicy prawns, big juicy pieces of chicken too. Anyway, it sounds like the vultures are here, so I need to feed them as well.
Put it this way. You buy the packet. That's exactly what we do. Ready? So good. I haven't tasted it yet. It smells epic. I'm going to show you that, dude. Oh, almost fake.
Anyway, who wants to come down the river and watch us eat this? All of you. See you down there. Right then, we've just eaten that, and so we're going to give the thumbs up and the thumbs down, which we haven't done for a few weeks because I haven't really been out with too many people. Anyway, so for the cheeky paella, that's really easy to say. Thumbs up or thumbs down after 3.
So that might be early enough.
1, 2, 3. Yay! Okay. So scores on the doors. I'll go first. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 because nothing's ever got a 10 out of 10. But that was really, really tasty, and I think less than 10 minutes to cook in total. The longest thing it took was to boil the rice earlier on. But for coming out here and doing something nice and quick and tasty, get that rice cooked at home and then just bring that out here with you. So yeah, I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. Dave?
I'm going to give that a solid 9.6 out of 10 because, as Matt says, nothing is a 10, but so far that's as close to it. Really good.
Brilliant. Cheers. And Edley starting for the first time, all the way from London, so it might sound French. Go.
I'm going to be a 9 out of 10 for me as well. Would have been 10 out of 10, but I'm worried that the chili's going to play a bit of havoc tomorrow, but it should be good.
Well, anyone who's a member of my channel knows that chili's always come in the meals. Anyway, we're going to have a lads' night tonight, so I'm going to edit the video and get it out. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please subscribe and then tick the little bell, and then that'll let you know whenever I put a video out. And for those of you who subscribe, thank you very much, because it's you guys who keep me going. Anyway, we'll catch you next time. Ciao!